screen check. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think now we're coming.
Yeah, it's just being really slow,
Okay.
but it's moving across the bar now. Okay. It looks like the live stream is going. Let's check our recording is going.
Okay, now I see the message.
Okay, with that, we are live and ready when you are, Mr. Mayor.
All right, sounds good. Apologize to those in the public that are listening. We had a few technical difficulties, but we'll go ahead and get started here tonight. This is let's see, work session for Monday, November 13th, 2023. Time is 4:47 p.m. Tonight's work session is on couple topics on the draft 2024 to 2029 capital improvement program. This is a follow-up to our first work session, and then second half of that will be to discuss legislative priorities going forward. In attendance, we have council members Swick, Langbart, Rojas, and Keithley. So we'll go ahead and kick it back over to you, I guess, Heidi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also apologize for that technical difficulty. We will work on it in between meetings and see if we get video back on and things working as they used to. With that in mind, you should have a copy of the draft CIP, the 2024-2029 Capital Improvement Program in front of you, hopefully. There was pretty much finalized, except for there was 2 additional pages that were sent out as part of the laydown that are updated for grant awards from the city of Seldovia. The federal and state page were both updated and should be fairly complete now. These are things that as we move this whole plan, really as we move through the years and projects, we will update as we go. But really, it's supposed to be a great guide for planning, budgeting, looking at the ways that we're trying to secure funds and spend funds and what those priorities are. If you look at page 3, there's an updated table of contents. There was one additional item that was added in since the last discussion, and that was due to the fact that we didn't really get to focus in and talk during the previous work session because of time on water and sewer. But included in water and sewer was a category for Spillum and Malcolm subdivision. This was a recent interest that's come about in the community from a few property owners and individual community members. And I know we've talked about the importance of housing opportunities in the community. I had a discussion with Randy Sweet and the Rural Cap organization about what development in the city would look like, and in looking at areas that are available for development, that really is one of the last areas that is larger, that would accommodate 6 to 14 lots. But it would require access via road and water and sewer. So those items were included. The Spillum and Malcolm subdivision water main extension and Spillum and Malcolm subdivision sewer main extension are both a priority 4 on page 4 of the packet. And then the Spillum and Malcolm subdivision platted road development project to create access in that neighborhood is also a 4 under surface transportation projects. If that's not something the council is ready or wanting to pursue at this time, please let me know and we can back those back out. I was just trying to be proactive in that priority and knowing that that is something that has been recently brought to the office's attention. Other than that, I think we had a pretty decent conversation last time about the facility projects, rolling stock you can see on there. With the priorities as discussed, then the priority levels as discussed, surface transportation, quality of life and economic development, and then the special revenue funds. We also have this newer category, collaborative capital projects and partnerships. towards the end, and then there's an opening page that talks about our commitment to partnerships, and that's with everybody: Seldovia Village Tribe, City of Homer, Seldovia Arts Council, Seldovia Recreational Service Area, Seldovia Chamber of Commerce, State of Alaska, Kenai Peninsula Borough, all those individuals that we continue to partner with to see these projects. And it made me just think that perhaps we should add KPED on there as well, now that I'm speaking of, so I could do that real quickly after the meeting. And with that, I just want to show and go over the introduction page, page 5. This is a really good tool just that talks about what exactly the capital improvement plan is. They're projects that are over $5,000 in value. The plan can be used to assist with anticipating community needs in advance before they become critical. They rank the capital improvement needs in order to ensure the most important projects are given consideration for funding before less critical projects. They provide a written description and justifications for these projects to submit for state funding. And that's what the second half of this conversation will be, is once everything looks good in the plan itself. And please let me know any edits you need, we can work through. Then you'll see on this page 6, there's a draft resolution. And that would be where we would fill in, per council's recommendation, what items you want on this resolution to request from our legislators, keeping in mind that the beauty of this plan is that hopefully as we move forward, some things still need work on their one-page sheet, especially the ones that are combined together. But these are really useful because as we fill out this resolution, we can say, here's this page that has the details on it. There are one pager with the details to share and give a better idea of what it is that we are asking for. So with that, I'd open it up to council to see what you want to discuss exactly in the plan. Definitely look at that Malcolm or Spillum and Malcolm and any other questions you have. And then we can move on into the discussion on what those priorities will look like if everything else looks great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate the introduction. I'll just start off real quick. I like this is pretty clean. It's pretty straightforward now. I like the fact that you've got the legislative requests, up here. Everything is bookmarked, easy. That makes it super nice going back, just clicking on the page and then going back, finding the project. And I was going through a number of projects and just kind of looking at, there's a lot of them now. I mean, this is an amazing document to have. And then, you can go to your specific project or a specific project, and then, look at the background, the history, and then kind of where we're at and where we want to go. And then I think any and all those are open to any level of additional comments or cleanup as well. But generally, the document is pretty easy to get through. One thing I would like to see on here, because we've got the draft, we've got the rolling stock. I want to make sure I know it says 2024 through 29, but let's make sure when we get the final version of this that we've got somewhere, either maybe it's on that page 2 where it's a blank, or somewhere we've got a document control number on there, so we can put the specific date either in the footer, the header, somewhere, probably in the footer or something, so we know when it gets printed and there's just a PDF copy out floating around the public, that we know what we're actually looking at.
Can do, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, we'll go ahead and open it up. Any comments from anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. This document is laid out beautifully. I really appreciate the part where we're talking about how to I just lost my sheet. How we're considering our priorities. And there's a bullet list of 6 items or so that we look at and try to decide if what we're choosing for the CIP meets our criteria. I appreciate that very much. I think also that the city needs to analyze what other lots are in the city that are close to water and sewer, perhaps closer than Spillum and Malcolm, and make sure that we are putting out our reaches to any lots in the city of Seldovia that may or may not have water and sewer. That should be our directive no matter what. And so I want to make sure that we do that in unison of the Spillum and Malcolm, just for our growth senses. And if you could clarify for me, all of the items that we've got listed, how many items are actually going to go on our resolution? If you could clarify that for me.
Really, that will be up to council. Last year we had 9 projects, and I should have put that in this laydown. I apologize. It is in the regular meeting packet. So if you look at that, it looks like we had, I can pull that up here. That's the third to last page. So page 38 of the regular packet. The Seldovia water transmission line replacement funding gap. Seldovia sewer line replacement funding gap, Seldovia sluice sewer phase 1 funding gap, Jackloff Bay dock replacement, Seldovia dam improvements, Seldovia refuse truck, Seldovia safe roads program road material matching fund, and the Seldovia 10-year collaborative economic strategy plan were listed. And out of those, I would follow up and just say, so Jackloff has secured funding. And I think that'll be, that is what we requested. It should be enough to cover it. As long as things don't get crazy, because we did have a contingency in there, a fairly significant contingency. The Seldovia sluice sewer phase 1 funding gap, we received that funding, or set to receive that funding from the state revolving fund. The Seldovia sewer line replacement is no longer a funding gap because of the technical correction, but there is a funding gap for the transmission line, and that was one of the items that we sent to the mayor. So that is definitely one that should be considered. The other 3, Seldovia dam improvements, Seldovia safe roads program road material, and Seldovia 10-year collaborative economic strategy plan are still open.
Okay, so we have that. If the council decides, we would just continue that, those items and continue them on this resolution. And the refuse truck, congratulations, I just saw that. That could go off the list because we purchased it, we've got it, or?
Yes, it's sitting behind me right now in the parking lot. Excellent.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. I'll let someone else talk about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Vivian. It kind of makes sense, and obviously we're having a discussion here, but it kind of makes sense as we're looking through the table of contents here, as we've got each of our different types of projects around in categorized here, looking at all the priority level 1s. I would think that it's a matter of, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we have 17 ranked number 1 alone. So I would think that, unless something's gonna, trump something else, or we want to, make a move from something that's a number 2 or number 3, any other number lower priority than 1, if that's going to jump up to a 1, I would think it would pretty much need to be a 1 on this list to make to make it into the resolution. Not saying it doesn't have to be, but I think that's kind of the, Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think, just thinking through this, that would be the normal, workflow as we have these discussions throughout the year and things move around. It's always it's a working list, right? But obviously the idea is to get all these items, our priorities up to a number 1, and then number 1 should be of those, we rank those, 1 through 6 or 8 or whatever it is, and then those become our legislative priorities for the year as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That makes sense to me. The 1 through 4 priorities came about per our last discussion, being one being the most urgent needs, immediate infrastructure needs, 2 being more revenue projects or projects that are not as urgent. 3 is more planning. 4 is and then so on. So not as urgent of plans. So that makes sense that the more urgent ones would be the ones that would be requested. The other thing that I would really look at is that some of these number ones, while they're number ones, are not fully formulated because there are a lot of them. And so it seems to me that it's the most beneficial and useful if you can take a fully formulated plan and idea and know how much you're requesting and then be able to send that off. For instance, the SFL leased retail and dock building improvements, we do not have full numbers on that one yet. So maybe that wouldn't be one that we would request yet. We'll have to keep working on these roofing projects and building projects to get some better numbers. And then I don't think the capital projects, and I should have included what those are, what qualifies as a capital project in this packet. I think I did in the last one. So really, that does leave us with the ones that are more formulated, like the safe roads, matching dirt, if that's something that people are interested in. And the harbor, that might be a great one to start bringing back up into people's attention now that we have Jackloff hopefully secured. Small boat harbors definitely been on the list, and we do have a fully formulated plan for that that needs to be updated, but could start being a part of the request. And as I move through, dock, some of these things still need to be fully formulated, but that raw water transmission line, I'd say, is definitely still a big priority and something that we're working on. And then whatever else you guys have to say as well.
Okay, sounds good. Jen?
Yeah, so I missed the last work session when you guys talked about this. I find it interesting that the harbor parking lot improvements is a 1 and that the road resurfacing is a 2. Is there are we considering that more important? Is it because it's a smaller project? Was there a reason?
I think the reason for that was that the harbor parking lot was an immediate need that we were looking at hopefully accomplishing in the next year, whereas the Seldovia Safe Roads program is an ongoing program. But that could easily be transferred to a 1 if that's better. And thinking about that and just what I was saying previously, that harbor parking kind of goes in with roads with the need for material. And we had it on our last legislative request for a match of $22,000. But and speaking with Public Works, that's really only about 1/5 of what we needed if we were going to try to resurface the whole town. We're looking at 100 and let me get that number again that we were figuring for material.
So is the point though, so if we did the safe roads and just put the whole amount on there, I mean, the whole piecemeal thing doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, if we did the whole amount, the 150 grand or 175, whatever it is, then we could, part of that, some of that material could be used in the harbor, correct? Or
true. Yeah. And that's 110 is what we were estimating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I agree. I don't think it would make sense to request the harbor parking lot improvement project over the safe roads when that in the aggregate could be used to address a whole lot more issues throughout the entire town.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because this is the first I'm seeing of this, and like I said, I wasn't part of that last meeting. Just to throw my own personal interest out there, the other parking lot by the launch ramp could use some fill as well from time to time. I know it's not used as much besides by me, but the puddles are pretty big for people trying to launch their boat. Not that that needs to be on this list, but just throwing that out there.
But it would be part of safe roads if that was put on there.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be part of safe roads as well. So,
Okay. So we could do raw water, that's 554,000. I think we're looking safe roads, 110,000. Harbor, and that's more planning. I can get that total for that.
then the dam improvements.
And dam, yeah. Maybe dam before harbor.
Yeah, I mean, harbors where that's going to be planning money. That's going to be planning money, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so planning. Dam, we know we got to get, I mean, that's got to get done. That thing's old. And if that thing goes, then we have a big problem.
Do you want blocks?
I think the dam and the transmission line we talked about previous, though, if either one of those two go, the town's without water, right?
Correct.
I think those two continually need to be on our list for sure. And then, I mean, yeah, moving towards the bigger piece of the planning money for the harbor. Safe roads is a big one. And then Vivian, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna ask about, I know in the past, we've had the discussion about the amount of dollars that we're putting out there. And sometimes if you put in a lesser number, maybe they've got some spare change and maybe it's gonna come our way. That's been, and so when I was thinking of that harbor, and Jen made a good point, Councilmember Jen for Swick made a great point about the harbor parking lot down by the boat ramp. By her business, it's another terrible spot. But I think back when we've gone through these over the years, I thought, unless my memory is wrong, that we kind of had thought about the idea of the amount of dollars that we're putting in. We got our big ticket items, and then it's okay, it may be better, and maybe somehow to your benefit to have some lower ticket items. I don't know if that's the way this is working still, or just a consideration and what I was wondering about. Otherwise, if I agree, if we need to put many different places in Seldovia in the safe roads, then that would make sense. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Yeah, you know, the other thing, when you pull back up and you look at last year's, it's pretty amazing that, I mean, half the things on there have been, we made it happen one way or another, which is pretty incredible. So, I mean, I think obviously the water line transmission replace, the gap needs to be on there. That one needs to be on there. The dam for sure. I'm concerned about the dam though. That's 71.5. That doesn't seem like much money to do like anything these days. Are those numbers a few years old now?
Yes, they would need to be updated. And so from this conversation, I'm hearing it is on the agenda for tonight, but maybe it needs to be postponed from tonight's discussion and I can come back with some more solid numbers, but we can put that on there tentatively with an updated number on that one. And then does council want to consider putting Block Street sewer, even though there was a request for technical correction, which we haven't received word about or response to back. Block Street was a high priority last year and it does continue to be a high priority. I know our public works avoids grading that area and pushing snow because of the delicate situation of the sewer in that street. And we did have a backup just 2 weeks ago where they spent quite a bit of time cleaning it out and going through it again. There's a known belly in that infrastructure and it does create problems every couple of years and was a cost the city, I think it was $91,000 in 2011, 2012. It's in the document itself. So maybe that's something to consider as well, as to continue to have Block Street as a priority.
Yeah, because if we're successful in the technical correction, Block Street funding goes away and it all goes over to the transmission line replacement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would behoove us to leave that on there. And obviously they thought it was good enough to get some funding last time. We were a little short on our request. That probably makes good sense to leave that on the list. And I just want to make sure that the funds we request, that we are covered next time. So it's crazy how fast. I mean, you almost have to have, you can't have numbers that are more than 6 months old, or basically they're out the window. And that's probably on the long end of how old you want an estimate to be these days.
I can come back at the next meeting with numbers for the dam and harbor planning, if that is the direction council wants to go. And then we have raw water, safe roads, and Block Street on there. And then, as Councilmember Rojas says, if there's any of the smaller project that you guys want to throw on there as well. We had the Seldovia 10-year collaborative economic strategy plan on there. There's a few other smaller plan ones on here as well, such as comprehensive plan and zoning code update and review, though I think that one will be a little bit, last I heard numbers on that was about a $300,000 planning. Water and sewer utilities system mapping, we can double check on what that is if that's something of interest. Improved access to Lake Susan, we do have the quote for that, and I think that was like a $30,000, but I'll bring back specific numbers on that one. To be able to do that metal boardwalk going down to Lake Susan. And then we're not ready for with a plan for Seldovia Wilderness RV Park, but those are definitely some other ones that could be considered if you guys want to throw a couple projects on there that are not such big ticket items.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with what our mayor has spoke of. Our number ones, our infrastructure, our water system are top priorities in my realm. As far as the collaborative capital projects and partnerships, could you explain, we've got increased digital equity through access to broadband, and then underneath that, pedestrian pathways, sidewalks. Either one of those, the sidewalks, to me, that would, depending on what kind of ticket item we're talking about, dollar amounts, either one of those to me could be moved up, or number 2 of the pedestrian sidewalks be moved up to a number 1, depending on what kind of money we're talking about. But I really feel that our list of wants and what we could have, and as our mayor said, we've really taken some big strides in moving towards completion of many projects, but we've got some big ones in front of us. And so if we look at our number ones and address those, and then think about what we could do to enhance our community, pedestrian sidewalks would be a biggie for me. And I don't quite understand the digital equity through access to broadband. And that's ignorance on my part, only because I use the internet at my house. It seems to be just fine. But as I see when we have our city council meetings, maybe that's what we're talking about, where we can make better strides, because the capacity level is at what we're trying to improve on.
I think that specifically refers to the rural urban versus urban gap, or in terms of level of service. Your urban areas are going to have way better, way faster service, and then of course the rural areas are going to be much. They're not going to have, very few of them will have fiber, and stuff like that. So that, I think that's where they talk about digital equity. Is that your understanding, Heidi?
Through the mayor. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I did attend a conference last fall about digital equity, and it is definitely a big push coming out on the federal level and on the state level, certainly for the state of Alaska, that it's the new era, like as they put phones and electricity in everybody's houses. Now the new dream is to be able to have fiber in everybody's houses and everybody to have access to fiber. And I know that we have this new satellite technology and we have some other opportunities. But on the federal level, satellite is not, there's specific words and I don't have them right on the top of my head, but for some reason they do not utilize satellite as a full equity, full access for communities. They are really pushing for fiber. And I've been in conversation with Seldovia Village Tribe, KPED. I have a meeting next Thursday, actually, or next Wednesday with KPED about some opportunities for our area. And I can bring that back to council when we get that more formalized. But the goal is to have some sort of a fiber line come into Seldovia and be able to provide long-term internet access, broadband access to the community, and that can also be upgraded. The thing about the fiber is it's not limited. It can continue to be advanced, and that technology is just what's being really pushed at the moment, even though I know there are other options. So the increased digital equity through access to broadband is that our community does not have the full capabilities, as Mayor Campbell said, as other communities, urban areas. They're really shooting for 100, 100, 100 up, 100 down. Right now, I think we are on the, there's a couple different categories. One that we don't have any access, and that's like a 25 to 1 and under 20. And then there's the next step up where we have like limited access. So that's just the continued pursuit to be able to bring that technology in. And with the meeting I had with KPED last week, they did talk about the fact that the whole state of Alaska is getting lit up. And it looks amazing because this technology is coming in and it's like a spider web going out to all the communities. But Seldovia, Port Graham, and Nanwalek are this just really little dark area that keeps getting skipped and moved over. And that's why we keep it, it's as a priority. And priority number one is in order to continue to have these conversations with the state, to have these conversations with the tribe and with other telecoms. Even though it's maybe not something that the city of Seldovia is fully prepared to take on themselves as a telecom company to provide that service, it is something that we want to collaborate and continue to work with people and providers to be able to provide that for our community. It would be really sad to miss out on that opportunity as it moves out throughout the rest of the communities.
I have a comment or question, kind of both. Do you know, as far as getting the fiber technology out here, is it just that we're needing a telecommunication company to actually activate the current fiber that we have running here? Because I might be wrong, but I remember, because I've gone to a lot of the HEA stuff, I could have swore I heard at one point in a meeting that they actually have fiber running over here. Then it's something that's in...
Yes, thank you for that question. Okay, the mayor. So it is something that HEA has been pursuing. They have a South Kachemak Bay power upgrade project that they are working on and have presented to this council and to the community. And part of that is that they would bring fiber in. They need it as well for their operations, and it only comes so far over on the McEwen Flat side. So, no, they don't have it yet.
Okay, but it's in their plan, but we would still, so even them bringing it here, we still need a telecommunication company to actually utilize it. Because I think that was where my understanding was. It could be here, but it's not even know or utilize it for years until a company decides to come and purchase the rights to use it from HEA.
Yeah, they would lease it and they could, multiple companies, depending on however that contract is worked out, could lease it. I think that's why they wanted to have ownership, is because then they could lease to multiple companies. However, if you have a telecom come in, they may be more restrictive, maybe not. I've had a meeting with one a couple of weeks ago and they seemed like they were really interested in and opening it up, and the more because they can lease it as well. Other telecoms using it means that they, get that lease money for them utilizing it. So I do think that there is interest there, but it's small, and we just have to kind of keep that fire lit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate without federal dollars. I mean, to pay for something like that, the return on investment for, a private telecom company to bring a, $30 to $50 million fiber line into a small community like ours, or, Nanawaller or Port Graham or something, just doesn't make sense. Whereas the satellite, it's quick, easy, and we've had such crappy internet for so long that we're all tickled pink with our Starlinks when they're working. So yeah, it's kind of an uphill battle. I mean, I guess it is. We just need a little more education to understand, the added benefits of fiber. So, but yeah, definitely, I totally get it. Makes sense to keep, pushing that, especially if it's a shared vision and does make sense and could become a reality one day. I know on the pedestrian pathway, the sidewalk improvement, I had brought that up at the past here at the last meeting, and then I would like to see the words or the acronym ADA attached to that as well, because I think that's an important benefit of that. And I know that has real meaning and real impact for folks that are limited in their mobility, and just being able to access, certain, not that we have a ton of sidewalks, and unfortunately the sidewalk we do have is in pretty rough shape, but it would, I think that would be an incredible addition to town if we had, improved sidewalks, and they had, appropriate ADA cuts in them and everything, for access all over the place. So, all right. Anyone else? Any other thoughts, comments on projects here? So Heidi, real quick then, so as we've got a list here, and then the second part of this is legislative priorities. Is that going, so on our resolution basically, that is numbering, prioritizing them would essentially then become our legislative priorities, correct?
So those are the projects that you would specifically be asking for funding from the state this year.
Yeah.
And I think we so far have on our list the raw water transmission line, Block Street, safe roads, dam, and harbor planning. And I have some a little bit more funding legwork to do for that. And I can bring that back at the next meeting if you guys want to postpone the discussion at tonight's meeting. Unless there's other things you guys want to also pursue having on this list, then I can look for cost estimates for those as well.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I would be in favor of our senior manager to go back and do a little bit more dollar amounts that we're looking for on some of these items, so we have a full picture of what we're looking at. So I'm totally in favor of postponing tonight's action on it and meet again with what we may have with more exact numbers. If the roof repairs and the dock building repairs on the Seldovia fuel loop, are we saying that needed more research in order to move forward with it? That would be one of the things you'd be coming back with us with, Heidi?
I can, if you guys would like to include that on the legislative priorities, I can add that on estimates for roof repairs.
Well, personally, I would. I don't know, unless somebody has a reason why it shouldn't be on there, because it's going to be a chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have that on there. I think what we do is get these on there, and then maybe at the with the estimates and the updates, and then at the last meeting or at the next meeting, then we just maybe our focus kind of centers around prioritizing those that have made this list for our, you know, our legislative priorities then in terms of, you know, ranking. Just because it's a higher dollar amount, I don't think it necessarily, you know, automatically has a higher ranking.
Any planning projects do you guys want on there, or are you guys happy with these infrastructure needs and infrastructure projects being the focus?
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, it all looks good to me. And if, yeah, we could just go ahead and push that, like Vivian had said, to the next meeting. And if we got some better calculations, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple questions here on, let's see here on the, oh, hold on, okay, on the final draft at the very top. Okay, so it says first page 24 through 29 program, and then under legislative requests, it has FY 2025. And then when you go over to the resolution, the very the actual resolution wording itself under 24-19 refers to also for fiscal year 2025. But then when you go down to line 27, be it further resolved on 26, on 27, it says are identified as priorities for FY 2024.
Good catch. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll update that.
Okay. I think everything else was fairly consistent when I read through. Heidi, I would like, if no one would object for some, just kind of a smaller community quality of the, oh, let's see, what was that under here? Where were the sidewalks? Where the heck did those just go? That was a number 2.
Those are under collaborative capital projects and partnerships due to the fact that a lot of those sidewalks are DOT. So that's something that we need to work through the process with them.
Right. So that probably needs a little more, yeah, for future, I guess we'd have to actually start engaging DOT since that's all in the DOT right away. And that would most likely be a DOT project, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, and then we'll probably leave that alone. We're going to need to do a little bit more homework on that one.
Yes, these projects are all in various states of readiness. The goal is to have them all be ready at some point, but they are not all there.
Yeah, I think it's been, you know, made clear during the public process in terms of, you know, monies and when monies become available, most legislators won't have made it clear they want to see, you know, as many shovel-ready projects as possible. All right, last chance. Anyone else for anything for our priorities? All right, let's see. So that kind of encompassed our, I mean, so do we still need to have a legislative priorities discussion? Or I mean, that pretty much encompasses all of it, correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. So it is scheduled for your agenda this evening, but it looks like I have a little bit more homework. So if you guys want to postpone that discussion on the agenda until the next meeting in December, I can bring it back with answers.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Do we have anyone from the public? Yeah, I don't see anybody in person, like not in my view there, but do we have anybody that's online that has previously registered that wants to speak?
Mr. Mayor, we don't have anybody that signed up online to speak for the work session.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Anyone else in closing before we wrap up the work session? And we'll give these guys a chance to, we'll probably do a test on the main link there to make sure we've got the video settings and everything correct for the regular council meeting tonight.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, we'll have to close the meeting to adjust those settings. So we'll
Yeah.
ask everyone to sign back on.
Yep, that's what I figured. So, okay, well, if there's nothing else, Heidi or Liz, you guys got anything else before we wrap up the work session?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and adjourn from the work session. Everybody will have to sign out, and then it's 5:30 now. We'll get back on about 10 to 6 or so to make sure all of our video and everything's working for tonight's council meeting.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.